Hello everyone, I'm Mark Cook, CEO of Shiny Shoe. We are the creators of Monster Train. Today is May 20th, 2021, and we are nearly at the 1 year anniversary of the release of the game. That'll be tomorrow. But we wanted to keep our normal streaming slot for Thursdays here in California, at least it's Thursday right now. But yeah, we're doing some stuff to celebrate the 1 year anniversary. So first of all, check this out. I've got this beautiful Monster Train party hat with some imps on it. I'll put it on briefly. I don't have like a nice chin strap. I need something like that. And we're gonna run a small contest related to this little hat. There it goes. If you want to win the first class, I'm gotta read over here to make sure I get all the details right. If you want to win the first class XL collector's edition of Monster Train, or you or a friend, you got to print out and wear the party hat. I'm sure the link will be posted in chat if it hasn't already, and it'll definitely be on our social and in Discord and so on. Snap a stylish pic of yourself wearing it. Reply with it, and our favorite will win. You can use the hashtag MonsterTrainBirthday. So yeah, I think it's going to be organized on Twitter, it sounds like. But please check that out. Yeah, I don't know. I got to solve the keeping it on my head situation here. Otherwise, I'm going to have a hard time balancing it. Anyway, in other Monster Train news, we just released a large balance and bug fix patch yesterday. That went out on all platforms. So on Steam, GOG, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and the Microsoft Store on Windows. And I figured we could go, on this stream, we could go over some of the changes and talk about some of the details, maybe talk about why we made some of those changes, maybe answer any questions that anybody might have, and so on. So, but before that, I forgot to show you this awesome image that our friends at Good Shepherd, Genesee, made. Happy birthday, Monster Train. All right, Mars Greek God says, Transcendimp. I understand it, but yes, Transcendimp's Ember cost was increased from 1 to 2. And I've got a document with notes from one of the game designers on Monster Train, Decarnix, who, thankfully, and I appreciate him writing up a bunch of notes, because I'm not tuning the game personally. So understand that you're getting the filter through me, but I'm not personally the one making these decisions. But he wrote the reasoning behind a bunch of these decisions down for me. So I'm going to look over on my other monitor here and look at some of these documents so we can talk about some of these, especially if there's any ones where people really want to know more. So let's talk about Transcendimp. Let me find it. Okay, so Transcendimp has by far the highest win rate of any card in the game, basically, is why it got a little bit of a power knock. Decarnix says, the ability to potentially copy so many triggers is game-winning, so we bumped up the cost of taking advantage of that power from 1 to 2. And that was kind of related, since it was one of the other tuning changes, pulling things down a little bit at the top, pushing things up a little bit on the bottom. And the card that was at the very bottom of win ratings was the Thorned Hollow, which got 2 buffs. His max health bonus went from 40 to 60, and also his Rejuvenate Spikes bonus went from 2 to 3. So kind of a parallel change to bring up the lowest win rate card in the game as well. All right, Social Mechanic asks, do you plan to make more balance changes other than the changes you just recently made? Apex Imp seems OP. Yeah, I think we will. I think we're going to continue to kind of monitor what's going on and make some targeted balance changes over time. So that's definitely planned for the future. As well as any high-impact bug fixes. In fact, I'm always ashamed to admit this, that when we miss things like this, here's a little hint if you're watching the stream. The card For the Greater Good right now is castable in the Pyre Room. That's definitely not intentional and causes some weirdness, so it looks kind of funny, though. We're probably going to hotfix that today, on Steam at least, and GOG, so yeah, that won't be in the game for long, but we'll get that bug fix out to as many people as possible, as quickly as we can. All right, Crackalackin' Chris says, have you ever thought about how spells you can decrease their ember cost? Maybe add something for units in the merchant. Yeah, we had that in the game. we definitely did. There was an Ember decrease upgrade in the unit merchant. I think it was removed before launch, and so I'm going off memory here now, so this is over a year ago. I believe the reason that we removed it was it felt mostly uninteresting in a lot of cases. Like, there was only a handful of units that you would ever want to put that on, realistically. And because of that, it felt like it was appearing too frequently for its value. This is my memory of why we did this, and I hope I'm not completely wrong and just saying the wrong thing, but I think that's why we did that. And there's that one artifact whose name I can't remember off the top of my head that reduces the... here, we can look in the game. Reduces the Ember cost of units by 2 across the board. But that is the only way to get Ember reduction outside of maybe some other special cases in Concealed Caverns events that I can remember. Forever Flame. So hopefully I'm not wrong about the details on that, but that's my memory of why we did that. All right. Okay, well, one way to go over the patch notes is to click the good old patch notes button, and we can go through them here. So some of the changes, let's talk about the champion changes first. We buffed Spine Chief and we nerfed Little Fade a bit, so on specific upgrade paths. And the reasons were similar to what we just talked about with Transcendent and Thorned Hollow. Spine Chief had basically the worst win rate of all champions, and Little Fade's was the highest, so we wanted to make some targeted adjustments to the things that we felt were the kind of most in need of help based on the data that we had. All right, Mars Greek Otter, you're going to start working on the next DLC anytime soon. I want more. Oh, well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some more stuff to talk about with regards to Monster Train this year. Unfortunately, right now, my lips are sealed and I can't really say anything about what we're up to, but there will be more announcements in the coming days, and anytime we have something where we've done something or there's something to look at, we'll definitely do another stream. So I know these are becoming more rare now, but once we're able to talk more, expect to see me again. All right. Dire Avenger 20. Any plans to buff champions who have struggled a lot more with the DLC, like Hornbreaker Prince or Penumbra? Not that I'm aware of currently. It seems like Decarnix is in chat, so maybe he can comment on any thoughts behind the status of those champions or any of our other longtime players who've played with them a lot. Yeah, like Decarnix said, we looked at all champions, thousands of runs over the time horizon from March 25th when we launched the DLC to look at all their data. So I guess that must mean that Hornbreaker Prince and Penumbra in aggregate must not be having that much of a problem, I guess. Ming Li asks, how do you scale aggressively with Umbra outside of Overgorger? Well, how do you scale aggressively? One card that I really like to use and always go for whenever I have the chance is good old Shroud Spike. Shroud Spike is definitely a way to cause some crazy situations to happen. I often try to copy Shroud Spike when I get it, if I'm playing Umbra, to get more than one, the ability to cast this more than once in a single battle. It also can combo nicely with Kindle if you can get both in your hand at the same time. But yeah, I'm all about Shroud Spiking, like the +6/+6 guy, for example, or is he Morsel Miner. And I know a lot of our private beta players love cards that give Ember Drain for some reason. They're all about buffing with Ember Drain cards, so maybe just casting a crap load of those is another well-loved strategy. All right. Prime Gaming. Whoops, that's probably some cut and paste thing. Okay, Binkley, are there plans for other genres of games in this universe in the future? We cannot say anything about that right now, but yeah, I mean, we're super pleased with the success of Monster Train, and I think it's a great game and a fun IP, and we want to build more things within the Monster Train universe. So we'll have to wait and see. When I have something I can say, then I will let you know. But I'm so grateful for all the players here, everybody watching this stream right now. Thank you for being a part of the Monster Train community. I'm just really happy that we've made a game that people like. Some people seem to like. I still like it. I still play it. When I'm testing something, I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing some specific tests, but if my run starts to get interesting, I'm like, well, forget that. I'm just going to play the game now. I'm just really happy that it feels like we're in a good place. There's always more to do. There's always better. We could get better balance. We can fix more bugs. We can add more content. But I hope Monster Train has a long life ahead of it in a variety of different ways. All right, Mars Greek God. Question: if you could cross over with any game, no matter how silly or unlikely, what would you pick? Cross over with any game. That is an interesting question. What would an interesting Monster Train crossover be? That's something that we have been thinking about for fun recently, of what other types of genres could you do a game in the Monster Train universe? You could do an RPG where you are the Hornbreaker Prince, and it's a story-based game where, you explore through hell and you find out more about the lore of the world and so on. How about a fighting game? That'd be ridiculous. Crossover with Street Fighter. We get some of our characters, beating each other up in a kind of real-time 60 FPS plus fighting game. I think that could be interesting. We have some interesting characters that could be cool creatures for a game like that. Last Divinity Lady Dimitrescu, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I know who you're talking about. Romance game to rule the universe. Yes, we could do a visual novel crossover with Resident Evil, where you can play as... Who would be the most romantic character in Monster Train in the universe? Who would be? I don't know. Let's see. Not Apex Imp. He looks like a 5-year-old boy to me. Pyre Chomper? I don't know. Maybe from the Melting Remnant would have the most romantic-seeming characters. Let's see. I'm trying to come up with a decision here for myself. Yeah, maybe Rector Flicker. I could imagine this character being kind of suave. The pipe guy in the event or Dante? All right. Yeah, that's true. Dante's got a pretty awesome coat, so that totally makes sense. And the pipe guy in the event doesn't have a card, so we can't see him easily here, but that's the Historian. The Historian. All right. I think you're right. That's better than Rector Flicker. Crackalack and Chris says, this is probably my favorite game of all time. Well, thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate it. Elon152, any plans to change the dogs' Umber unit essences? They feel underwhelming. All right, Umber units, the dogs. Show the essences. Are the dogs these guys, the Crucible Collector and the Crucible Warden? And I guess Overgorger and Shadow Eater. I'm not aware of any current plans to modify those, but feedback taken. So thank you. All right, let's jump back to the patch notes a little bit as well. So, all right, we talked briefly about the champions. Spells. So we redesigned For the Greater Good. For the Greater Good used to steal an enemy unit, basically, and there were both some substantial balance problems and bugs with that were challenging to fix just based on the architecture of our game. So it's been redesigned to summon a unit from heaven into the front of the room that you cast it in. And those units they're pretty strong. So I personally played with this card recently. I felt it was just totally run-winning when I got it. At least I was able to get a holdover on it, and I think I reduced the Ember cost to 1. So summoning a free, strong, chump blocker plus bonus effects was incredibly powerful. So it still seems like quite a good card to me, even after the rework. Except for the fact that you can cast it in the pirate room. But we'll should have the fix out for that today. Anyway, and it also, I guess, is now rare. So For the Greater Good is no longer available as early in the run, so you can no longer get it in the Ring 3 Cavern. I'm guessing that's for the same reason that was done. I'm sure Decarnix can correct me if I'm wrong with why that happened. And then separate from that, Soul Siphon is no longer eligible for the Stackstone upgrade, which was probably a confusion factor. I don't remember what the specific details for that were. Let's see if I can find it. Nope, looks like I don't have any further notes on that one specifically. All right, Zathulhu. Hey, I'm not sure if anyone else wants this, but an enemy page in the logbook might be useful. Yes, along the pack shard level. That's definitely a long-standing feature request, and we agree. It was on like our list of things we wanted to do before the game shipped. Unfortunately, and this has remained true even to today, it keeps getting pushed down the list by other things that seem higher priority. So unfortunately, that's still something we haven't gotten around to even starting on. I do think it would be cool to have a logbook page where you could browse through all the enemies, and now perhaps, as you're saying, there's even more reason for that now after releasing The Last Divinity when we introduce the kind of packed upgraded enemies. I think if we do that well, it could be a cool kind of visual. It could just look good to show off the cool characters in different ways too. But unfortunately, not under development right now, but hopefully one day. So feedback heard. All right, Rossum says, since Dusk brought it up recently, which monster do you think has the most ripped abs? I like this set of questions today. Who has the most ripped abs? Shark Tail Queens are pretty ripped. Let's see. Let me turn on large mode UI so it's bigger. I mean, I'm looking closely here too. She's got some pretty ripped abs. I mean, so does Hornbreaker Prince, but he's kind of like scrunched over, so his are kind of crushed. So I don't know if that's like chub rolls in his belly or actual, muscles. But since Shark Tail Queen standing up straight, she's got a six-pack. You can see it there. It's going to be hard to beat that, I think, right? This guy's got a huge rib cage, but a tiny belly, so it doesn't look too strong. Apex Imp doesn't have anything going on. This guy's got a two-pack, the Horned Warrior. He's got his lats. His lateral muscles there, under his huge pecs are also really big, but yeah, I don't know. Does somebody else have a better six-pack? Consumer of Crowns? Nah, that doesn't really look like a six-pack. Yeah, I'm going. I think it's highly unlikely anybody over here has anything like that going on. Let's see. Not seeing anything. Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's Shardtail Queen. That's my pick, at least. All right. Oh, the Sharks. That's true. Let's go back and look at those guys. Well, 1, 2, 3. It looks like Titan Sentry has an 8-pack, actually. No, we got a new winner now. And Guard of the Unnamed might also have that, but it's kind of blocked by the armor, so maybe it's Titan Sentry with the best abs. Certainly an important question in the Monster Train universe. Alright, Never Nathaniel. Most important feature recommendation. Divinity with googly eyes that follow you, depending on the floor that you are on. Yeah, I can see that. The eyes just kind of float down across his body. Alright, Social Mechanic. Could Lodestone also give a unit draw priority if the unit originally didn't have it? Interesting. I mean, theoretically, yes, definitely it could. I know that's a mechanic that's essentially hidden. There's been requests to make it more obvious. I think if we made Lodestone do that, I wonder if that would, make it seem like we would need to make it more of an explained mechanic. frankly, I personally don't know why it's not, but I remember our game designers had a reason for that to not be something. Like, I think there's just a general feeling that there's already a lot of information in Monster Train. There's already a lot of tooltips. Yeah, like in console, we default to large mode, and some of these characters, especially when you start getting like a bunch of upgrades on it, the number of tooltips can already get kind of crazy. Like, look at Eel Gorgon's already, nearly filling a full column of information. And so I think we have a general kind of resistance to adding more sometimes. So I think that's why the draw priority system is kind of a little bit of a hidden thing. But obviously we know our kind of dedicated expert players understand what's going on with regards to that. So I guess I don't have a great answer for that. Technically, there's nothing blocking us from making Lodestone give draw priority as well. I don't personally have a strong opinion as to whether or not that's the right decision or not, so maybe others are discussing it in chat right now. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the chat, but it's interesting concept. I could see why that could make Lodestone more appealing. I definitely remember that Lodestone was getting some hate from one of our private beta testers as the worst upgrade for units. I don't know if the data shows that that's true or if that's widely believed. I still buy Lodestone, personally, but yeah. All right, interesting to think about. All right, Taya's sorry, something like that. How did you come up with only having 9 stages per run? Did you consider other numbers? And how hard was it to balance or something? All right, so there's a couple reasons why there are 9 stages. One is the classic 9 Rings of Hell, Dante's Inferno kind of reference. But another reason, probably even more important, is a overall internal target for how long a run should be. So we had been targeting approximately like an hour-ish, like 45 minutes to an hour for most runs is what we were hoping to get to. And it happened the fact that 9 battles roughly made that the case for many players. And that's kind of why we decided to stick with that. It both felt thematic and felt like it fit, and also was targeting our kind of run length desires. And we still think that that's a good overall timeline for the concept of a run in this type of game. All right. And how hard was it to balance? I mean, balancing the game overall has definitely been a challenge, and there's a lot of people with a lot of different thoughts, and can never make everybody happy, and you pretty much always piss people off when you nerf things. And as much as it feels good and is more fun to buff everything all the time, we do have to nerf sometimes to make sure that there's interesting decisions still left in the game. So balancing any kind of complex systems like Monster Train is definitely really hard. And we do that via a combination of our own intuition, data collected about gameplay, and feedback from players like you. So anyway, like I said earlier in the stream, we're definitely going to continue making balance tweaks here and there over time. So if there's anything that you feel passionate about that you think needs to change, feel free to bring it up always. Can bring it up on these streams, can post it in Discord where there's discussion about all these types of things. Discord's probably one of the best places to talk about balance, so I'd recommend that if you're not already in there. All right, Crackalack and Chris, do the units in the draft reward from battles have draw priority? I can't remember if there's how exactly those reward pools are set up and how that maps to the kind of draw priority system. So, sorry, I don't know the answer. Andre Torba 47, happy birthday, Monster Train. Thank you. Here, I put the hat on again. Yay! For anyone who missed the beginning, Monster Train party hats. Someone post the link again, please. If you make one like I did and print it out, you should put a chin strap on it, though. I need one of those things like the kids' party hats have. And there's a contest. Let me reiterate the details just in case you missed it. You can win the XL Collector's Edition of Monster Train if you print out this hat, take a picture of yourself wearing it, doing something silly, I don't know, and then tweet it at the Monster Train account on Twitter. And I think we want to encourage people to use the hashtag Monster Train Birthday. Then we're going to run a contest to pick our favorite one of those photos for a free copy of the game. And, if you already have it, you can give it to one of your friends, and so on. All right, Mr. Vicious Corn Dog, thanks for making Monster Train. It's probably my favorite game ever. Thank you very much for saying that, Mr. Corn Dog. Elon152, I think banner units should be explained or marked at least in the logbook. Yeah, you're not the first to say that, so I wish I had somebody here with me on the stream who could give a better explanation as to why that's not currently the case, but I'm sorry, I don't really remember the specific reasoning as to why we didn't do that, but thank you for the feedback. I'll take it back to the people who do and see if they have had any change of heart. Binkley, any updates on possible merch? I need a t-shirt. Merch would be sweet. No, I don't have any updates, unfortunately. Genesee, can we do some cool merch? I don't know if you know the answer either, but Genesee is our community manager at our publisher Good Shepherd, and she's definitely around. I would love merch, too. I don't have a Monster Train shirt. I mean, my best Monster Train merch is this hat, maybe. No. We have a couple of things. Actually, I have some stickers. Let me dig them up. I've got, a pretty cool big Monster Train sticker here. I don't think we're selling these anywhere right now, so I've got a number of these, but I think they were made as just a promotional internal thing. But we've done some stuff. We should start selling some stuff like that. All right. What else we got? Where was I? Mr. Vicious Corn Dog asks, do you log player data and runtime? I'd be interested in pick rates. Can we see it? Yes, we do. We log a bunch of information about gameplay. We don't log any personably identifiable information. So we get information about gameplay, but we don't know who anybody is, and it just all gets mixed in anonymously. And we use that data for balancing the game. I don't think I can show it on this stream, but maybe we could. I'll think about it. If we could call a specific stream to go over that information, I'm just not set up for it right now. But we have some dashboards where the data's all in a database, and then the dashboards run SQL queries against it to show different pieces of information in a way that is intended to help game designers. Yeah, I'll think about if we'd be willing to kind of show it on stream or not. Seems like it could be an interesting thing to talk about. So, yeah, you'll hear back on Discord if we move forward with that. Never Nathaniel asks, is there any discussion around multi-strike being too much of a priority compared to other major upgrade stones? Not that I've heard, though I also often try to get multi-strike on one of my units because it scales so nicely. Yeah, it's often, a target, like re-rolling to try to get multi-strike in the unit merchant, especially for your heavy hitters, right? So, I don't know. I mean, it's a good upgrade. Is it too good? I'm not sure. Social Mechanic asks, I'm glad you haven't been afraid to nerf things. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. We definitely have taken some serious heat, not as much recently, but definitely right around launch when we had to make some changes for the kind of, we felt were the long-term betterment of the game that resulted in nerfs. Speaking of multi-strike, I don't know, this might bring up bad memories for people. There. Where's that tome? There it is. Here's a card that's been nerfed multiple times. I think this used to cost 3. Like when the game shipped, it was 3 Ember, and it didn't put Fragile on the unit. So I think it went to 4, then it went to 5, and then it added Fragile for being too good. That's my memory of the history of One Horm's tome. All right, Taya's Helibolt. Is there early MT design behind you on the wall? No, there's some stuff behind me on the wall from my kids. Some of my kids' drawings. Here, one of these is my drawing that my kid got mad about, which made me laugh so much I decided to put it on the wall. I can show that off real quick. It's an important one. One of my kids asked me to draw somebody cool, so I drew this guy. All right. It's got muscles. It's got sunglasses. It's pointing to himself with his thumbs, right? My daughter got really mad. She said he looks too silly. He's not cool. But then I asked her what his name was, and she said his name was Beach Severtai. So I wrote that on top, and yeah, I'm keeping it on my wall here now. And then, so I drew a second one that's on the back, actually, but I didn't like this as much. This is Aiden Cool. That was her name for this guy as well, and she drew the body on this one, I think. But yeah, I'm all about Beach Severtai, so yeah, I'm gonna go put him back. That's who that is. Maybe we should put Beach Severtai into Monster Train. All right. Binkley says, also, there's a Monster Train tourney and the qualifiers start today. Cool. I didn't personally know about that, so if there's any information to post in the chat about the tournament, yeah, please do. Peach Severtai looks like me. All right. I need some sunglasses. I don't think I have any here. All right, Never Nathaniel is running the tournament. There is chat on Discord for signups. Please go to Discord to find more information. All right, Karis Divine. Any plans to be able to filter out non-divinity mastered cards? You can only filter the mastered cards, but not the other way around. I see. Yeah, let's... Where's my game? There we go. So we can see unmastered, mastered, divine mastered. All right, so let me try to understand your request. Filter out non-divinity mastered cards. I must not be understanding the request. Filter out non-divinity mastered cards. If you could clarify what the request is, I'd appreciate it. It seems like you could filter all permutations of what you'd want to see here. But if there's some simple tweak we can do that improves the usability, I'm all for that. So. All right, what's left to Divine Master? Got it. Okay. So we need another option that's, okay, Undivine Mastered or something like that. Yeah, makes sense. Seems like a good addition. All right, Yeppy Society. Any near future plan to add officially supported languages? Not currently. I would definitely like to see Monster Train in some additional languages. But we, unfortunately, are not currently actively working on that. We had been discussing it a number of times on our side behind the scenes, but we have not committed to any new languages currently. So if that changes, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, I think there's definitely... it seems like there's a number of languages that could be useful to translate the game officially to. So we'll see. All right, well, to jump back to looking at the patch notes, let's see if there's anything else to discuss here. All right, so units. Mini bosses, quote unquote. These are the bosses from earlier battles that show up in the last Divinity. No longer benefit from the Ninja Training Mutator, which just seemed kind of unfair. So the Ninja Training Mutator gives stealth to those bosses, to all bosses, and it just felt like ridiculously overpowered and punishing, so they don't anymore. All right, we talked about the Thorn Hollow buff. The Legion of Wax Essence was changed to a Revenge trigger, and a Twin of Wax changed to a Mode of Wax. So basically, every time the unit takes damage from any source, it pops out a 1 capacity chump blocker. And some of the thinking, let's see, I had some notes on that one, I'm pretty sure. All right, that was the, I guess, least picked or the least winning Divine Essence for the DLC was Legion of Waxes. So got buffed, and like as an example where this could be super useful, or we think this is a buff, it got redesigned. Like against any boss with stealth, like popping out the chump blockers to continuously soak up the kind of like crystal cloak, if I'm remembering the name correctly, to kind of create a little bit of an extra wall and buffer to burn down those stealth stacks. All right, Mr. Vicious Corn Dog says, any chances we could get a Monster Plane sequel where the monsters go to heaven? I hadn't considered Monster Plane before. I definitely like that. When we're thinking of silly things like one of the older pitches I remember of just like absurdity, the dev team just messing around, was Monster Train, off the rails, where the train itself goes into space. But yeah, going into a plane instead, that could make sense. And of course, to keep kind of the absurdity and analogous with Monster Train itself, it should be a multi-leveled, multi-storied plane. You know, like a 747, except with maybe even more floors on it. All right, Elon152 says, just wanted to say that the game has been a ton of fun. The DLC was really amazing, and the care for it showing how every aspect was carefully balanced. Just yesterday, I finished all 25 Covenant combinations. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations. That's still something I haven't done. You know, for some of us at least, the game gets hard. I know that, you know, we have a couple of people in the private beta that are always saying, game's too easy, make it harder. But, you know, I don't know. I haven't done it yet. I still have not cleared all combinations on Cov 25. All right. Jumping back over to the notes. We talked about Transcendent. All right, Lodestone Totem. Let's talk about that. The essence now saps all enemy units, but has a +2 ember cost associated with it. Let's see. Why did we do that? Here's what Dekarnik says. Lodestone Totem is a unit with a high ember cost, but a powerful, reliable sap effect. Its essence was not delivering on that. The essence is now +2 ember cost alongside the unit's trademark ability to sap all enemies each time you play a spell. Alright, so sounds like it's a buff, but comes with it, or at least more thematically tied to the Lodestone Totem unit, but includes something, a trade-off, that ember cost change. Alright, artifacts. There's only one real change that wasn't a specific bug fix. Votive Key, which gives endless to the first unit summoned in a turn. Now, only triggers when you play a card from hand. I believe this should have no noticeable downside to anybody, and this is just like what it should have been in the first place. But the primary goal of that change was there was a weird anti-synergy with Votive Key and the artifact Commemorative Spike. Commemorative Spike, I think, gets mentioned later down in the notes here too. It's caused so many problems. That's a artifact from the Umbra clan where at the start of battle a morsel is summoned on each floor. And basically the morsel that gets summoned was counted behind the scenes as for Votive Key, basically, except because it's a cardless unit, it couldn't get endless, so the ultimate result was like Votive Key was neutralized on the first turn of battle, which just felt bad. So that's really what that was about. It's kind of almost more of a bug fix, but anywho. All right. Events. The Malika Purge event now heals the Pyre instead of purging cards. Within the context of the DLC, purging is more common than before due to the Dark Temple, so this provides an alternative benefit that should prove more compelling. So hopefully that's true. The Old Magic event rate was reduced by 25%. I still feel like Old Magic comes up all the time, and you know it doesn't bother me a lot because I usually get a really good card out of it, I feel like, but it still feels really common even after this change to me. Rail of the Covenant, Empower and Add Purge, event rate reduced by 40%. Let's see, I don't know why we did that. Let's see if Dekarnix told me. Looks like he did, but my search for some reason based on player feedback. All right, so just like Old Magic, both of those was done solely from player feedback, it sounds like. The Glowing Brands event is now less common in Ring 3, but is also available in Ring 5's Cavern, so just kind of spreading out the events, the possible event space more. And 2 endgame events, I won't name them, should have a spoiler tag, somebody told me, have more than doubled in occurrence if the player has the requisite number of shards to trigger them. So that's only relevant if you have the DLC. Somebody asked, I think in somewhere is either Discord or the Steam comments on the patch notes to separate notes that affect the DLC and ones that don't. Maybe we'll start doing that in the future. So yeah, sorry that it's not 100% clear right now which notes are relevant to kind of just the base game or also the DLC. Alexander Noite says, any plans on boss rush mode? Not right now. Yeah, that seems, I'm not 100% sure of what you're envisioning, but seems maybe kind of conceptually related to an endless mode, which has been requested a number of times. So we're considering maybe doing one new mode in the game, maybe. No promising here, but not quite sure what it'll be if we even do it. So yeah, right now nothing to announce, unfortunately. So I'll let you guys know if something changes there. Sorry, my cat just showed up. BOFFT asks, is it possible to change the dev's instance on not offering mastery on hell rushes? I feel like it should be worth since it is a normal run. I see. Yeah, why? There's no mutators in Hell Rush. So that seems reasonable to me. I think the reason why we didn't want to allow mastery in like the other types of challenges is the amount of mutators can sometimes, make the game different and kind of interesting, but can also make it way easier. So it didn't feel right to offer mastery from that. However, in Hell Rush, you can't use mutators, at least the kind of general matchmaking Hell Rush. You can do mutators if you do a custom challenge Hell Rush, however. So, but for the general matchmaking Hell Rush, yeah, I mean, I think seems like we could offer mastery there. So I'll take that under consideration. Thank you. Calls to see Cat. Okay, calls for Chief. Let's get him. Here he is. All right, time for your cameo. Whoop. Here he is again. Look at the camera. Look at the camera. No. You want to wear the party hat? Let's try. No, I don't think he does. No, he definitely doesn't. Well, I tried. All right. Shadow Marks asks, are you going to bring back the cool building that was in the center of the waxen arches pre-DLC? Oh, you noticed that one. No, there's no plans to bring it back. Unfortunately, that was like one kind of hidden compromise that we had to make to fit the additional reward nodes for the DLC. Definitely a little bit sad about having to make that change, but yeah, it was, I think, the only change that happened to the map, if I remember correctly, or really the only like material one that changed. Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, unfortunately we did have to say goodbye to make enough space for all the different types of reward nodes. I did love that building. All right, jumping back to the notes. Cut, please. All right, we made a bunch of text changes. Those are probably less interesting to talk about. They're mostly like increases in consistency and so on. We fixed one kind of major translation problem in Chinese. The word reap and harvest they're both gameplay keywords that should be unique, but they were both the same. I can kind of understand why that ended up happening. They're like kind of conceptually similar to an extent, but that got fixed. So if you play in Chinese, hopefully that'll make it more clear, especially if you're mixing Wormkin and Melting Remnant. You want the building? Everyone wants the building as a card. Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's do that. That'd be a fun thing to put in. Just put in a few more, like, just wacky cards. Wonder how we should give them out, though. It's always good to come from events. Put in another card that's as rare as the Bone Dog was originally, just to make people mad. Just kidding. We don't want to make people mad. All right, let's talk about some of these bug fixes real quick. Some of these are kind of interesting. So here was one. after the addition of the Last Divinity DLC, it became possible for 2 Concealed Caverns follow-up events to trigger at the same time, basically. Or not exactly at the same time, but back to back. And when that happened, there was a bug that we kept getting reports of, like, oh, the second follow-up event is skipped. Well, it turns out it wasn't actually skipped by the game, but there was a controls bug where if you clicked your mouse or pressed enter or whatever it is on the keyboard or controller, normally you can do that to skip the animation ahead within the Concealed Caverns event, and then you can just pick the reward, especially if you've already read it and you're an experienced player. Everybody does that, basically. However, if you did, when it was 2 back-to-back, in the second one, if you clicked, it would just completely skip the event, and it would not allow you to pick your rewards. So that's what made it seem like... Chafe's driving me crazy. That's what it made it seem like it was completely skipped. So anyways, the controls bug is fixed now. So if you were affected by that, we're sorry, and glad that that's now resolved. All right, before we go to the next one. Tyas Hellebolt. Echo Wright is the chaddest character. I love his sound design and the fact that he's riding a Mana Crystal bike. All right, we've got our vote for who's the most Chad. Going with Echo Wright so far as the first vote. All right, Dekarnik says, my 3-year-old daughters sometimes start being Echo Wright. No. Pew pew. I'm not sure Mama likes it. Well, kids do love video games. They are very appealing. You can see how kids get sucked into screens so easily. That's probably why I played a ton of video games when I was a kid. All right, back to the bugs. So, number 2, fix Divine Horde not showing consistent artifacts between the left or the right path. This was noticed by a number of people, especially some of our kind of high-level players who have been doing tournaments and so on. This was unintentional. We strive for complete determinism, where if 2 people are playing the game on 2 different computers, if they make the exact same decisions, they're going to see the exact same stuff. And things like rewards, like the Divine Horde in the DLC, regardless if you pick the left path or the right path on the train, you're supposed to see the same things. But that was not true. Due to a bug, basically the left path was consistent. However, if you chose the right path, the Divine Horde would, just due to some internal coding logic bug, would be like, I don't know what my rewards are supposed to be, and then would just completely randomize and pick from any artifact, which also led to the problem where you could be offered the same artifact twice in the same run, which is not supposed to happen either. So it was kind of like a double whammy of problems there. So that's now fixed. We also had another bug related to artifacts, where if you don't own the DLC, there was a problem where in merchants you could potentially be offered a DLC only artifact and also potentially see the same artifact offered twice. It was a similar kind of thing, a little bit different circumstance. That's now been fixed too. All right, other things. This was a confusion issue, and I'm trying to remember exactly what the details were when it came up, but there were some Wormkin situations where the interaction between Consume and Eternal Stone, and we've had a couple of these things where you can have a card with Consume, you can remove Consume, and then Consume can get added back for some reason. In some cases, we didn't show the right text. I think there's a couple other similar related situations where that could happen. Anyways, we believe we fixed that. The text on the card should always reflect what gameplay is going to do now. Turns out Apex Imp and Morsel Maid did not have their attack animations playing at all, which was an oversight. Those are now fixed, and those guys actually look like they do something when they attack rather than just sliding towards the target. There was a controller and keyboard bug where you could buy more upgrades at the merchant than was intended. I think it was something like if you mashed A in a certain way, you could get more upgrades on a single card than you were supposed to be able to, given the game rules. So that's now been fixed. And these other ones, interesting. I'll skip the next one. It's not super interesting. The Shard of Divinity is now in the logbook. So that's good. That was an oversight. That's a new DLC artifact that I don't have discovered. Probably because I used cheats to get my save data in this state, but I did that before we fixed that bug, which is why I don't have it there. But now that's tracked. All right, where were we? Edge Prior's cost reduction Ember cost reduction on healing spells. Now works on old magic if old magic has healing. It's a good fix. Vapor Funnel. That artifact was not triggering on the last divinity when he enters the Pyre Room during the final kind of relentless stage. That's now fixed. Worn Grindstone, and what was the other one? The health version of that, Hammered Chest Plates right there. Those two artifacts both had a bunch of problems, basically. Worn Grindstone didn't work on cardless units. So, for example, from Commemorative Spike, from Legion of Wax, various things, it wasn't working at all. So that's been fixed. And Hammered Chest Plates also had a problem with Commemorative Spike. That's also been fixed. So we've had a couple challenging issues on the kind of technology side and trying to make all these work consistently in all the different situations they appear in. Commemorative Spike keeps coming up. Actually, Commemorative Spike, this is like kind of a nerf, but it was because of a bug. In Covenant 10, the first unit summoned on the top floor gets Ember Drain. Commemorative Spike, if you had that, would cause the morsel that was summoned at the beginning of battle in the top floor to be counted for that. However, it would not get Ember Drain. So it would basically be, it kind of neutralized the effect entirely on the first turn, which is definitely not intended. Anyway, so now it's the first unit that you play. So the Morsel Miner that comes from Commemorative Spike also doesn't trigger it. That just seems kind of nice for players. But anyway, something was going haywire there, but you wouldn't be affected by that on your first turn otherwise. We fixed Bone Rattler and Bone Shine not triggering Etch. It's just a nice one. And I think those are, I guess, the most interesting ones. All right. Those were the notes. Oops. All right. Let's jump back over here. It looked like there's some other questions here. Takarnik says, not cheats, development tools. Yes, well, technically, sure. We have development cheat tools that we use to, unlock content or reset our save data in different ways and so on. So, it's important for the dev team to be able to rapidly get into different game states. Some Nitaj. Artifact stacking sounds fun, though. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been bugs in the game where you can get the same artifact twice. I mean, I hope they're all eliminated now. I think it mostly works, surprisingly. Like, when I hear about those bugs, I'm always, like, super worried that it's going to cause the game to soft lock or crash or something like that. But I think based on how the design of everything is set up, like, usually it works when you can get two of the same artifact. But definitely, it shouldn't happen. So if it ever does happen, please report it as a bug. We'd appreciate it. Yeah, with mods, it seems like it's absolutely possible. I think there is one mod where you should be able to do that. What's it called? Stoker? There's a mod called Stoker that basically allows you to add cards to your deck and do whatever, like, I think modify anything about the current state of your run, nearly. And so I don't remember if you can add artifacts, but I'm pretty sure you can in there. And anyways, even if you can't, somebody could make a mod where you could. And we're totally cool with that. Go crazy. Put 5 of the, what's it called? The artifact that doubles your trigger summon from the Hellhorn. Here we go. Ashes of the Fallen. Summon abilities, trigger an additional time. Put 5 Ashes of the Fallen in there and then cast Transcend Imp. And see what you can do to try to break the game. That seems like the kind of wacky fun that mods are really made for. And I think possibly already possible with Stoker. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up here for today. Thank you for hanging out and for going over those patch notes with me. Chew if you want. He's meowing. You want one more? You want to go on the camera one more time? All right, here we go. I'm holding him in kind of an awkward way, but all right. Last cat cameo. Thanks, everybody. Happy birthday to Monster Train. Get your party hats. Post them on Twitter. Send them to the official Monster Train account for a chance to win the kind of collector's edition version of the game. If you already own it, of course, if you win, I'm sure we'll find some way you can give it to a friend. So thank you all for being here today, and hope to see you next time. Bye for now.